I want to talk about American Sniper because it feels like it was another really important moment for you,
Yeah.
but on a number of terms, as someone admiring your work, and that working with Clint Eastwood being a big moment for you, but then also just what the role gave you the opportunity to explore, both in prep within it, and then I imagine kind of afterwards as well. Do you mind talking a little bit about that and how it kind of presented itself to you, first of all?
Yeah, that was the first time that that was a shift in sort of approaching a character, because that was a book that I had become interested in through Jason Hall, who went on to write the screenplay, and so I brought the book to Clint. So it was a project that I was producing. I never done that before, and so I had a lot of time to prep, which I'd never had before. Like a lot of time, like I think like 7 months maybe, and and I was playing a real person. And when we were developing that project, Chris Kyle was still alive, and he was killed while we were in the middle of finishing this, writing a script and trying to get it going. So it was it was a crazy thing. I was on set when I got the call that he had passed. I think it was February 2nd. I think he died. And Steven Spielberg was going to direct the movie at that time, and then so we all sort of paused, and then it actually felt like there was a real reason to make this movie even more. And then it was Greg Silverman at Warner Brothers who said, Clint, I think, is reading the book just offhandedly, and why don't you call him? And I was like, call him? And he's like, yeah, he'll talk to you. And I was like, okay. And then so I talked to Clint. He's like, let me finish it. I'll call you Monday. And I was like, okay. And I was in Denmark editing Serena. I remember. And then they're like, Clint Eastwood's going to call you at 2 p.m. And then he's like, let's make this fucker. And seriously, that's what he said. And I was like, yes, sir. Yes. And then we flew to Midlothian, Texas, just me and him. And I expected him to have I don't know. I don't even know what I expected. It was just him and an old school, bowling bag with his clothes. And we checked into the like a motel. I remember the room. He called the room. The phone rang in the morning. He's like, "Want to get some yogurt?" And I was like, "Yeah. Meet you in the lobby." And then we go down the lobby. I'm eating yogurt, and people are just their jaws are dropping. The Clint Eastwood is in Midlothian, Texas, in a motel, just eating fake strawberry yogurt. And we went and visited Taya, Chris's widow, and his 2 kids, and his dad, and sitting around the table, and Clint's telling him what we're gonna do, and it was just like, whoa. And I had just come off of Aloha, and I was 185 pounds, and as we're walking out, I'm like, all right, so Clint, I'm gonna put a plan together. There's this guy I know is a trainer, and he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I mean, Chris Kyle was 240 pounds. And I was like, and he's from Texas. And I was like, I'm 185 pounds from Philly. And he's like, all right. And then we never had a conversation, never talked about it, ever. And then I showed up on set. I did all this work. I was 238 pounds. I put an inch and a half of my neck. And I learned this from Christian Bale in American Hustle, but it did help just to stay in the voice. It just made it feel like I wasn't acting. So I would kind of be like Chris Kyle all the time. And Clint would always make fun of me. So we would be eating dinner after work, and he was like, Bradley's gonna have the steak. So it was amazing to have Clint Eastwood making fun of your process. But I do remember the first day I showed up, and I was so proud. Hey, look, I gained the weight, and I sound like him. And I remember he was like, so this is how you're going to do it, huh? I was like, wow. Yeah. And he's like, all right. And then that was it. We never talked about it until he started making fun of me. He was the best, man. And what I learned from him was he grew up Depression-era kid, was a piano player in saloons to make money. Then he was an extra for many, many years. And he told this great story about being an extra in a Rock Hudson movie, and they were scientists. He was an extra in a lab, and he was looking at props, and he put on glasses, and then Rock Hudson walked onto the set, and Clint was the other doctor or whatever, or scientist, and he saw the way Clint looked with the glasses, and 5 minutes later, someone came up to Clint and said, oh, you know what, we're going to say no glasses, and he's like, okay, and then Rock Hudson had the glasses on. Yeah, I love that story. And I would just talk to him about. So he has like a jazz musician. Like I learned from him, like you don't have to say action. Like he never said action. He never said cut. He shot the rehearsal. Sienna Miller's first day on set, I remember it was on the tarmac. And she was, everybody's so excited. And you're in a Clint Eastwood movie. She's like, Clint's like, yeah, you're going to, go up there and hug him. He's coming on. He's been away. And, let's. And she's like, okay, so we're doing it. She's like, okay, I got it. He's like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, nah, I shot it. And so he would do that a lot. It was amazing. Yeah.
I mean, his story is interesting, like, when he took that step into directing and the choice that he made of that first step into that world, which was not what anybody kind of really expected, which is great. And do you admire him for that?
I thought about him all the time. He directed his first movie when he was 40 or 42, Play Misty for me. And he was always somebody, he was like a television actor and then nobody really respected him. He played Misty for me, which actually got totally panned. And then he just does what he wants, he just, I remember our first day on A Star Is Born, he was at Coachella and he's like, what time's lunch? And he just drove his like 1988 Audi to the set. He came and he had lunch with us with the crew. Like he's just his own guy. And I really learned and studied the way he walks through life. So from David O. Russell, I learned to love him being close. So I would always ask Clint to be close, especially when we were doing all the sniping stuff. So so the camera's there. He's like with a big floppy hat on with tons of sunscreen, is like right there, and I was like, just let's talk through it, Clint, as we're doing it, And he's like, there he is, you little son of a bitch, and like, dude. So we tried it. And he's like, yeah, you little fucker, don't you pick up that goddamn thing. And I'm like this. I'm like, if I was like, Clint, I think I got it. I was like, I don't think this is helping Clint. Because he's like this, with the biggest, his nose is white, he's got the hat. There he is, that little fucker.
And it's Clint Eastwood. It's like, yeah.
It's so funny. And the whole crew's laughing. I was like, I think I got to do this solo, bro.